Hi everyone, this is Rosie and welcome to my studio where we can explore creativity together. I have been playing around with Design Space a little bit and I'm seeing that it's actually a very powerful program. One thing I noticed is that I have both an iPad Pro and a MacBook Pro, and they actually work a little bit differently on each platform. And mostly I'm seeing that the features are not the same. So I went on to the Cricut website and I see that they have a chart up here that explains the different features between whether or not you're using a PC or a Mac, an iOS platform or an Android platform. And the iOS platform has the most features. One of the features that it has is something called Smart Guides. And this is actually a very powerful tool that you can use when you're trying to align things, when you're trying to align one shape with another shape. So I'm going to be using the iOS. So I'm going to be using my iPad actually to do this demonstration because I think it has some really nice features on it that are not available on the other platforms. So I'm in Design Space right now, and what I would really like to explore are the different built-in shapes on the canvas that are along the bottom of the screen. So there's a line, a circle, a triangle, a square, a pentagon, etc. And what I would like to explore today are the square, the circle, and the line. So let's look at the square first. I'm going to put one up on the screen here. And when I select it, and I'm only selecting it by touching the screen, everything is touch screen, so you can either use your finger or you can use like an Apple Pen if you have that. There are 4 icons around the square. There's an X, which is obviously for delete. There's a rotate icon, so if I touch it and hold down with my finger, I can move it in a circle. And then there is this little icon right here, which is to make it larger or smaller. I can make it as big as I want. And I'm touching the screen where the icon is, and I'm holding my finger down on the screen as I'm moving it around. Then there's a lock. So if I press it, the lock is on now, and I cannot change the size of it. But if I want to play with the size, then I touch it again and unlock it. Now you can see I started out as a square, but now I have a rectangle, so we can change the size and the shape of it from a square to a rectangle. Now also you notice that as I'm dragging this, there in the upper left-hand corner of the square, it tells me what the width and the height is of the rectangle right now. So it's 9.12 inches by 5.05 inches. So if I wanted to make this, say, 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches, I can try dragging with my finger to get it to be 4.5 by 4.5, but it's a little difficult to do. But there is another way to change that. And what you want to do is go down to Edit, which is on the bottom of the screen. And once you press Edit, you'll see that there's a place to change the width, the height, the rotation, whether or not we want to flip it horizontally or vertically, and then the position of where it is on the canvas. So if I move this, like say if I want it to go all the way up into the upper left-hand corner, I'm now at the 0, 0 position. So at any rate, I want to change the width and height of this because I want it to be the size of an A2 card. So I'm going to make the width 4.25 inches, and I'm going to make the height 5.5 inches. Okay, so now I have the height of an A2 card. I'd like my rectangle to appear a little larger on the screen, so I'm just going to take 2 fingers, touch the screen, and then separate my fingers to make it bigger. So as you separate your fingers in or out, it makes it bigger or smaller. Now it didn't change the actual size of my rectangle, it only changed the size of it on the screen. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to work with a circle. So I'm going to go back to where it says shapes, down here the little icon for shapes, and I'm going to touch on a circle, and now I have a circle on my screen over here. And I want my circle to be a certain size. And the circle has the same icons around it that the square did. So you have the X for delete. You can rotate your circle, and you can make your circle bigger or smaller. If I make it longer, I've now changed my circle into an oval, and I can lock and unlock it. But I want to change the size of my circle, so I'm going to unlock it. And now I'm going to go down to Edit again, and I'm going to make my circle 2.5 inches wide and 2.5 inches high. Okay. Now what I'd like to do is I want to move my circle on top of my square. And this is what I mean by smart guides. I don't have to put in any coordinates here to know whether or not I'm in the center. Right now, I'm perfectly in the center. If I move it up, I want to move it up. If I go off a little bit, I lose my smart guide, so I know I'm not in the center. But once I get back into the center again and I have it positioned where I want, I can release it, and now it will stay there. I would like this card to actually be front and back as one piece. So I need to make my rectangle bigger. So instead of being 5.5 inches high by 4.25 inches wide, I want it to be 8.5 inches wide by 5.5 inches high. So I'm going to click on my rectangle, and I'm going to change the width now of my rectangle, and I'm going to make it 8.5 inches. Okay, so I still have my circle there, and I've made my rectangle bigger. So now what I want to do is I want to cut the circle out of the card, because I want the circle actually to be a window on the front of the card. So to do that, I have to select both the rectangle and the circle. So to do that, I just put my finger down on the screen and I drag until I've highlighted both the rectangle and the circle. And then I need to go to Actions, which is at the very bottom, and I need to choose Attach. Then once I've chosen Attach, I can choose Slice. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to cut my circle out of the card. So now I have a circle by itself, and I have a rectangle with a circle cut out of it. Now that I've done that, I would like to be able to have a score line so that I can fold my card nicely and perfectly in half. So I'm going to go down to Shapes again, and I'm going to choose Line. And now I have a line up on the screen, which actually went on top of my circle, but that's okay. And I'm going to touch on the line, and again it has the same 4 icons around it, and I want to change the height of the line because the height of my card is 5.5 inches, so I need my score line to be 5.5 inches. So I go to Edit, and now it's telling me that the width of my line is 0.4 inches. I need the height of my line to be 5.5 inches. Okay, so it's 5.5 inches. So here's the beauty of the smart guides again. I need that score line to be perfectly centered in the middle of my rectangle. So I'm going to drag it over here. And did you see there's that yellow line? That is the exact center. And I'm just dragging it back and forth with my finger. And as soon as I get to the yellow line, I take my finger off. And now it's centered. I do need to move it down a little bit. And there you go. Now, so that you can see my score line on here a little better, I'm going to switch over to the Layers panel. So I do that just by clicking on Layers with my finger. And you can see now I have my layers here. I have the line at the top, and it tells me it's a score line because there's a little pen there. And if I open that window up, you can see it says here, Score. Score is selected. Then it tells me that I have a circle on here. I'm not going to be using that circle, so I will delete that one. But I also have my sliced image here with the rectangle and the circle cut out, and it has a pair of scissors on it, so I know that it's going to be a cut layer. And if I open that up, I can see that it says cut. Now I want to change that to white. And once I change that to white, you can see that I have my, I'm going to close the layers panel. You can see I have my rectangle with the circle cut out and the score line. Now one thing that I need to do before I can actually go and make this is I need to attach everything together, because if I just click on my rectangle with a circle in it, you can see my score line's not moving with it. So I'm just going to hit undo, and that brings the rectangle back where the score line is. I need to attach it so that the score line doesn't move. So again, I'm going to put my finger down on the screen, and I'm going to just select everything by moving my finger across all the elements, and then I'm going to go to Actions, and I'm going to say Attach. Now at this point, if I try and move my rectangle, everything moves with it. And then the other thing that I actually want to do is I just want to rotate my image, so I want to flip it horizontally. So there you go. Now I'm ready to make this card. So I'm going to hit the Make It button, and I will let the Cricut Maker do its magic, cut everything out, and then I'll show you the final result. So here's the final result. The Cricut did a really beautiful job. The cuts are very crisp. The score line was absolutely perfect. I did this on 80-pound cardstock. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed watching this video as much as I've enjoyed making it for you. I would love to hear your comments below. Please like and subscribe.